Hello, and welcome to Equity 101. In this presentation, we will be discussing the Office of Equity's role as a resource for staff, faculty, and students at CU Denver and CU Anschutz. If you have any questions or need to contact the Office of Equity, our contact information is both here and at the end of this presentation. To begin, we want to outline what we will cover today in this presentation. Please note that policies are subject to change based on state and federal laws. You are always welcome to contact the OE or visit the website for links to the most up-to-date resources. We will work to keep this content updated as well. Today, we'll cover what the Office of Equity is, the difference between private versus confidential resources, the role of drugs and alcohol in our investigations. Next, we'll cover the policies the OE administers, including the non-discrimination, sexual misconduct, intimate partner violence, and stalking policies. Finally, we'll briefly explore some prevention and risk reduction opportunities. The CU Denver-CU Anschutz Office of Equity is a dual campus serving office. Our mission is to foster an inclusive environment for all members of the CU Denver and CU Anschutz community. Utilizing a comprehensive integrated approach, the OE facilitates equal access to education and employment by engaging in transparent case resolutions, conducting impartial investigations, offering support and safety measures, and providing prevention education. Ultimately, we have four primary functions: to stop, prevent, and remedy discrimination, harassment, sexual misconduct, and related retaliation, to provide education related to our office's work, to help design policy to make our campus safer and more inclusive, and to ensure individuals are treated with dignity, compassion, and respect. Our goal is to make it easier for all members of our campus community to work and go to school. In this presentation, we use two key terms. The reporting party is the individual who experienced a harmful event, discrimination, harassment, etc. The responding party is the person accused of having done harm. Our goal in this educational video is to focus less on what crosses the line and more on how to build inclusive and safe environments. In other words, we don't want you to ask, how much can someone get away with before they'll get in trouble? Instead, we hope that you can better understand what policies are in place and what your role in actively preventing harm as a member of the CU community can look like. The Office of Equity is a private resource. Unlike a confidential resource, which won't share any of your information, the OE may have to share relevant information with other offices or groups. Information may be shared with folks like campus police or student affairs, but is only done on a need-to-know basis. In other words, a person we share information with would have to have a legitimate reason. Some confidential resources, or those that would not share your information, unless necessary for your safety or the safety of others, include mental health services, the Ombuds Office, and the Phoenix Center. An important thing to note is that engagement with the Office of Equity is voluntary. Whether you report on behalf of yourself or someone else, our goal is to follow what the reporting party or person who experienced harm wants. You and others are able to contact and connect with us whenever you are ready, and we will be here to support you. There is no punishment for choosing not to participate in an investigation, and there is no time limitation on when you can report something to our office. When and if you do choose to report to the OE, we and other on-campus offices offer additional supportive safety measures and resources at no cost. Next, we will outline the policies the Office of Equity administers. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, these policies can change due to updates at the state and federal levels, and we will update our information accordingly. The policies the Office of Equity administers include the CU Denver and CU Anschutz non-discrimination policy, the University of Colorado Administrative Policy Statement 5014 on sexual misconduct, intimate partner violence, and stalking, the University of Colorado Administrative Policy Statement 5015 on conflict of interest in cases of amorous relationships. In addition to managing on-campus lactation spaces, the OE is also responsible for supporting pregnant and parenting students through the enforcement of the CU System Administrative Policy Statement APS 3005 Lactation Spaces Policy, and the CU Denver-CU Anschutz Lactation Space Policy, Policy 3061, as well as additional university guidelines for supporting pregnant and parenting students. The OE also assists with student pregnancy and parenting accommodations if students feel as though they are being discriminated against or if there is a failure to accommodate. Our process involves the following steps. First, we are notified of a concern. Notifications or reports can be filed with our office online via submission form, through email, over the phone, or in person. If you are hoping to file a report in person, please email us to set up a time beforehand. Because we serve both campuses, our time is often split, and we want to ensure someone will be there to meet you and take your report. After a report has been filed, we do an intake assessment to evaluate the safety of everyone involved, better understand the situation at hand, provide options for support and safety measures if needed, and discuss different options for resolution. The next step is to determine if an informal, educational, or formal resolution is the best option for the situation. If a formal investigation is completed and it is determined there is a policy violation, the OE will determine the appropriate sanctions or penalties for said violation. We do want to note that in a sexual misconduct investigation, the process for the investigation includes a live hearing and cross-examination. It is also possible that if the reporting party wants to include law enforcement or law enforcement's presence is required, that this can be done simultaneously with the Office of Equity's investigation. On a college campus, it's normal to be concerned about if drugs or alcohol will impact how your report is handled. The Office of Equity's goal is to address issues like sexual misconduct, harassment, and discrimination, not to police minor alcohol or drug infractions. Even if you were drinking or consuming drugs, you deserve to be safe and should not have a concern when it comes to reporting to the OE. However, being intoxicated or under the influence is not a defense against allegations of misconduct. The University of Colorado Denver and Anschutz Medical Campus non-discrimination policy is designed to protect individuals from discrimination and harassment on the basis of 16 protected characteristics. Protected characteristics were determined based on state and federal laws as well as input from CU regents. These protected characteristics include age, color, creed, gender identity, gender expression, religion, race, sex, sexual orientation, pregnancy, national origin, disability, veteran status, political philosophy, political affiliation, and marital status. If you have questions about any of these characteristics, please reach out to the OE. There are 3 forms of prohibited conduct under the non-discrimination policy, the first of which is discrimination, or differential treatment of an individual on the basis of any of the 16 protected characteristics. An example of this may be not receiving a promotion based on your sex or your sexual orientation. The second type of prohibited conduct is failure to accommodate. There are 4 protected characteristics that the university is responsible for providing reasonable accommodations for: disability, pregnancy, religion, and creed. A failure to provide accommodations for one of these protected characteristics may constitute discrimination. The last type of prohibited conduct is harassment. This includes hostility against an individual based on any of the 16 protected characteristics, even if it is not intended to insult. An example of this could be a professor or teaching assistant refusing to use a student's pronouns. During investigations, the Office of Equity uses measures to explore if the harassment is severe, pervasive, or objectively offensive, as well as ask questions about the impact. For example, does the conduct create an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work or educational environment? The next set of policies the OE administers is the Sexual Misconduct, Intimate Partner Violence, and Stalking Policy. Sexual misconduct is unwelcome behavior of a sexual nature or abuse in a sexual or dating relationship. It may include forms of sex discrimination. Some examples of prohibited conduct include non-consensual sexual contact or intercourse, dating or domestic violence, and other problematic forms of abuse and control, demanding sexual favors as a term or condition for someone's employment or in exchange for an academic benefit, or repeated unwanted sexual jokes or comments. Sexual assault includes any form of non-consensual sexual contact or non-consensual sexual intercourse. Dating and domestic violence is violence committed between people in social, romantic, and intimate relationships. Stalking and Title IX stalking include conduct against another person that causes someone to fear for their safety or the safety of others, or suffer substantial emotional distress. Sexual exploitation is conduct taking sexual advantage of another person without their consent. Hostile environments and Title IX hostile environments include the unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, both in forms of a hostile environment that deny a person equal access to universities' education programs or activities. Quid pro quo and Title IX quid pro quo sexual harassment is also known as a this for that benefit in exchange for an unwelcome sexual conduct that denies access to a university's education program or activities. Even if you are not certain if you or someone you know is experiencing something under this policy, please reach out to the Office of Equity and we can help determine if there is. If in your role at the university, you have the authority to hire, evaluate, promote, grade, discipline, or formally advise or direct any faculty, staff, or students, you are a responsible employee. Some folks also refer to responsible employees as mandatory reporters. If you are uncertain about your status, you can contact your direct supervisor or have a discussion with the Office of Equity about your role, and we can better assist you. If you are classified as a responsible employee, this means that you have an obligation to notify the OE about any potential policy violations you become aware of. In your report, which is available to file at the QR code shared here, you should provide as much information as possible, including the people involved, any information about the incident, and other details shared. The Office of Equity will follow our standard intake and assessment in order to ensure that folks are contacted, connected with appropriate resources, and that all parties involved are safe. The purpose of having responsible employee obligations is to have the most accurate information about potential violations or instances of concern that may be ongoing, pervasive, or otherwise causing harm to our campus community. It can be difficult to know that you are a mandatory reporter if something is shared with you in confidence. However, if you are aware of a potential policy violation and do not notify the OE, you are accepting liability for the situation. Responsible employees are not confidential resources, but some available confidential resources for students, faculty, and staff include the Ombuds Office, Mental Health Services, and the Phoenix Center. In some cases, it can be potentially helpful to offer these resources before too much information is shared. It is not your role as a responsible employee to determine if a policy violation occurred, but it is your role to ensure that people experiencing harm are given access to our office and other on-campus resources, and to ensure that information about discrimination, harassment, or sexual misconduct is being tracked appropriately. It is entirely up to the person who experienced harm if they want to speak to the Office of Equity. There is no punishment for not engaging with our office, but if there does come a time that they do want to engage, it's helpful to have information in our system. Because our relationships to our students and colleagues matter, it can be helpful to let them know that the OE will be contacting them if or when someone discloses something to you. You can tell them, based on what you have shared with me, I have an obligation to notify the Office of Equity that this happened. It's up to you if you want to engage or tell them more, but I or the OE can help connect you with other resources as well. One thing that can be helpful is to use the word notify instead of report, because sometimes the latter term can be associated with someone being in trouble. Again, the person who experienced harm is not required to speak with the OE unless or until they feel ready, but it is an obligation for responsible employees to make the Office of Equity aware of potential harm being done. If you see something potentially harmful going on, you have the ability to help act and prevent it. This slide gives some examples of the tactics you can use to intervene, called the 5 Ds. These tactics, direct, distract, delegate, delay, and document, will be addressed more fully on the next slide. However, in any situation, please remember that your safety is important and to assess your safety before acting. The Office of Equity has a training called No Longer on Standby that addresses these tactics and strategies more comprehensively. Feel free to check it out. The next video helps you put these bystander intervention tactics into practice. It was produced by the Phoenix Center, which is a great, confidential, and free on-campus resource.
If you saw a baby stroller rolling towards oncoming traffic, and all you had to do was reach out and grab it, you wouldn't even hesitate, would you? I mean, I wouldn't personally, but then again, I'm indifferent. Don't be like me.
Dude!
I know how to intervene effectively. I just prefer not to. That's where you come in.
Me?
Yeah, you. I know you see that over there.
Leave me alone.
Why didn't you call me back last night?
You gonna do anything about it?
I wasn't planning on it. He looks like he should be able to handle himself, right?
I don't know, chum. That kind of sounds like something I'd say. He looks pretty distressed. You should do something about that.
Okay, but what do I say?
Well, the first way, and my personal favorite, is to be direct. Avoid confrontational language or anything that might escalate the situation, but be clear and unequivocal in your words.
Who the heck are you talking to?
Don't worry about it. Hey, excuse me, miss!
What?
I believe he wants you to leave him alone.
Okay. And who the heck are you?
That doesn't really matter. He doesn't look like he's having a very good time. You should probably back off.
Whatever. I don't need this right now.
Every couple goes through arguments. This one,
Okay.
this one feels different. And that girl knows it. Yeah, you. I know you're seeing this.
Every single time!
You really think your little Snapchat story's gonna help?
I don't know, but they're in a car. If I try to talk to them, they'll probably leave. Might as well get some evidence.
I think World Star's probably got enough content there. Martin Score Shady.
World Star!
What about Johnny Law over there? Think he can help?
Oh, I don't know if it's that serious.
Then why are you here filming?
Stop calling me out already.
You don't always have to play the hero to be one. Alerting authorities is a perfectly viable way to intervene without actually putting yourself in the middle of a situation.
Hey.
Officer. This looks like a place where good decisions are made. Everybody's drinking, dancing, having a good old time. Well, everybody except her, that is. Do unconscious people still have good times? Hey, buddy. Seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah, pretty hot, right?
Not exactly what I was getting at. Does she look like she's in a consenting state of mind to you?
I guess not. But that girl over there, she went off on me last weekend for no reason, so I'm not gonna get in the middle of that.
How about your little beer pong, bro? Think you two can handle it?
Who you calling little?
Easy there, sport. Focus.
Look, no one's asking you to go all Steven Seagal and break a pool stick over someone's back. But a little awareness goes a long way.
We just thought maybe.
The truth of the matter is, there's a lot more people out there with good intentions than bad ones. If we all do a little more to watch each other's back, we'll make the world a better place. Doesn't that just sound lovely?
Elizabeth Schrock serves as the Assistant Vice Chancellor and Dual Campus Title IX Coordinator. Her info, along with where you can find the Office of Equity and options for getting in touch with us, can be found on this slide or by scanning the QR code with a smart device. Thank you so much for participating in education that helps make our CU community safer and more inclusive.